Disclaimer, this tarot reading is for entertainment purposes only. Everything I say in this video is alleged, and I don't know Miley Cyrus personally, but I wish I did because she's iconic as fuck. Hey everyone, it's EthanTarot. Today we're going to look at the energy of Miley Cyrus's new album, Something Beautiful, that's coming out on May 30th, 2025. Yes, I did my homework this video and I looked up when the album was going to be released, because last time I did a read-in for Selena, I didn't really know much about the album, which was kind of embarrassing. But today, we're going to really look into the energy of Miley Cyrus's new album. I'm going to be more career-specific in this reading. It may veer into something else, it may not. It kind of depends my mood. But this reading is for entertainment purposes only. I don't know Miley, and also this is all alleged. Like I said, this is just for entertainment purposes only. It's a tarot reading. So have fun with the reading. Don't take it too seriously, but let's get into the reading. So I already pulled the cards, and the first card is the Fool card. And then the next card is Justice Energies, which is interesting because Fool card is Aries season, Justice card is Libra, and these are sister signs. Sister. So there's a lot of duality to this album. Like there is probably like a good mixture of sad songs and also upbeat songs. Some of the songs as well, like the song structure may be a little bit experimental. Not on all the songs, probably only a few songs. I remember her last album. I loved her last album, Endless Summer Vacation. Most of the album wasn't that experimental, but there was a song or two that were experimental. I think this album going to have a few more experimental songs, but the next card is the Three of Swords, so there is going to be some type of heartache addressed on this album. And then you get the Tower card as well. Got the Tower card as well. Miley got the Tower card for this album. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of things addressed. Something about this reinvention for her, if this new album is going to be uncomfortable to her old fans, there is some type of evolution that's going to be hard to digest at first. Not as bad as like the Bangers era. I love the Bangers era, by the way, so I'm not shading, but the contrast between her Disney era and her Bangers era was kind of crazy. So the contrast is not going to be that high when it comes to this era and her last era. But there is going to be some type of change and people are going to have to get used to it again. It's kind of like how Madonna used to reinvent, or still does reinvent herself. Miley kind of consistently does that. So some people aren't going to like the reinvention necessarily. There's always going to be people that aren't going to like what you do. You're never going to please everyone, and Miley is learning that lesson right now. I'm not gonna get too far into that. I think she's already learning that lesson, but intuitively I'm kind of picking up on that. But with the Tower card, things are gonna be shook up. It's gonna be like a fucking earthquake, so things are gonna be crazy when it comes to Miley's new project in some ways, but in other ways there is still consistency. When I did the read-in later on, because I'm editing right now, I still felt the core and soul of Miley, but there is gonna be new elements that she's gonna show. Like, I just feel like she's like unrevealing more elements of herself. That's what she does every album. Anyway, back to the reading. There is gonna be a reinvention. There is something shocking about one of the songs or one of her looks, because I think it's a visual album as well, but there is gonna be a shock, but she always does reinvent herself, so this doesn't surprise me that much. And the Two of Cups is here. There could also be an interference in the album cycle. Like, I feel it could go well at first, but if the label isn't consistent with budgeting and advertisement, it's not going to go well as long term. Quickly, I wanted to add that intuitively I'm picking up that there is some chaos at her label right now when it comes to leadership. They could be transitioning into new leadership and they're still kind of like in the middle of that. So right now there's a lot of different visions going on at the label. Like one person has this vision and this person has this vision, but there's a lot of contrast in visions. And like I said, there's like a transition in the leadership. So things are not as solid right now. The process is just a lot more complicated this time because there's a lot of politics going on and Miley's kind of in the middle of it. I'm going to look into like more of the specific singles as well. I don't know any of the song titles yet, but I think she has to really pick the right single. It has to be something exciting, to be honest. And I do think she needs to put it out like soon. I mean, I don't know her marketing plan because I'm not on her team, but it's something she needs to like put out during Aries season. So probably by the end of April, she needs to put out a single, because if the album is dropping, I don't know if it's the visual album drop. No, visual album's dropping later on, I believe in June. I could be wrong, but she just needs, I feel like she needs to get the single out so it can build a little bit. I don't know, like the single, something about it like needs to build. I don't think it's as instantaneous as Flowers, for example. The first single is a sleeper hit because I pulled the Four of Swords as the clarity card for the Fool card. These are contrast in energies again. There's a lot of contrast in energies when it comes to this album and this era in general. So I feel like the first single is going to do well like the first 3 weeks or so. And I feel like the buzz is going to be there. Like there's going to be like a social media buzz as well. But there is that potential for that energy to die down. Also, I believe Fool card is Uranus energy. So there is a wild card element to the song. Like well, also the song's success as well, but something about the song is unique. I don't know if it's like full out unique or just like one element of it. But with the Fool card, that's Aries energy, and sometimes that fire can burn too bright or too fast and then it burns out. So like I said, the marketing around the single has to be very planned out and not too rushed. Like you don't want to put too much budget in at once, I guess, because then it's just gonna then you're just gonna run out and then you're not gonna be able to promote more singles, for example. Also, there could be an issue of budgeting with this era because she already probably spent a lot filming all the music videos or like the visual album. And I feel like still Miley's in this space where she doesn't really want to fully put herself back out there, which I'm not blaming her. But last era, she didn't really do a lot of promotion, for example. So it kind of depends on that as well if she's going to do promotion. I don't even think she's on her Instagram, because whoever wrote the caption wrote it in third person. So right now she is kind of disconnected from... Miley also feels disconnected from her performer alter ego as well. I know that sounds like Hannah Montana, but every pop star I feel like does have an alter ego or a different side to them when they're a performer. And I feel like Miley's been out of that space for a long time. So she still needs to kind of find that passion again so she can get back to that space, because right now it's not effortless for her to be a musician, and usually it is. So she's trying to get back to that space, and I feel like she will with this album and era, whether it's successful or not, because I feel a lot of passion behind this era. So I have a good feeling. The public, in a way, not creatively, but like just persona wise, I mean, you're gonna get her aura and persona through the music and through the visuals, but there is still something lacking here. But like I said, I do think there could be a potential turnaround with the Two of Cups. This could be a remix or like a duet or something. I don't know the track listing yet, but with the Two of Cups, I do feel like there is going to be a really high profile remix. I don't know if it's from her album or maybe she's going to hop on a remix, but either way, Columbia is going to be pushing her to perform with other artists at Columbia. Hence they did that last year with Beyonce and Miley, because they're on the same label. But with the Two of Cups, they're going to be, especially if the album's underperforming, you're going to see her doing a lot of remixes, especially around like July time, late July time. When she releases the album, I do feel like the consistency of the promotion is a little bit off, but I actually feel like a few months in, she may start doing more promotion, but she may have another project she's simultaneously promoting as well. So that's possibly why I'm picking up on that, for example. I think the album was delayed or something already, or she may want to delay it more. I don't think there's going to be another delay. I mean, it's possible with the Tower card and the Three of Swords. Okay, I'm getting this intuitive message while I'm editing, but I feel like there is a potential for an album leak, Miley. So don't trust too many people with your songs before they're released, because I feel like there is a warning intuitively coming through that someone could leak one of your songs from your album, or the whole album could get released, maybe even the visual album. So you have to be careful of who you share sensitive information with. So I'm just getting that warning. But there's already been a few delays with this album and some modifications. Like I do feel like midway through this era or something, or maybe even right before she was done recording, she went through another traumatizing experience in her life with the Three Swords and Tower card. So she wanted to go back into the studio. So I feel like the album was supposed to come out before. I'm not exactly maybe last fall it was supposed to come out, but I feel like some things in her personal life came up, and I feel like she wanted to get back in the studio and her creativity wasn't finished yet. And she's one of those people that only releases albums every like 3 or 4 years. So she wanted to get this out before the next era, because she's going to be in a way different space, I feel like, by her next album, because who knows when she's going to release that. So she wanted to get back into the studio. I feel like there was some dead weight on the album as well. She could have, like, I feel like the album was already almost done, and like it's pretty similar to what it's gonna be. But there were some filler songs that she was not happy with that she may have last minute like cut, and she had to go back into the studio. And I think she had some songs she was working on already that were demos, but she went back and redid them because she kind of lived the experience of the song she was singing about fully, so she could go back to that song and finish it in a way, is what I'm trying to say. Miley seems like she's in a very confident space, but honestly, artistically, at some point when she was recording this album, she really wasn't. I do feel like there was a lot of people trying to pull her in different directions, including her own fans, so I feel like that's why she's had to separate herself emotionally from a lot of people, the public, and also some business connections as well, because people are trying to pull her in many different directions. And I do feel like she is a very empathic person. I think she has a Scorpio moon, so that says a lot, and that can be this energy, water sign energy. So I do feel like she's very intuitive, and she kind of knows which direction she wants to go in. But when people start telling her different things, that's when it starts to get messed up, because she does want to seek people's approval. I think that's a part of her child star trauma, honestly. But I do feel like this album is going to be very solid, but there is a depressant element, I guess, in the mix of the album. I don't know if it's like a full out transparent, like a Lana Del Rey song, or if there's just really sad undertones to like some happy songs, for example. But Miley definitely was battling through some sadness with this album, not because of a relationship necessarily either. I just feel like there's been a lot of transitions in her life. I feel like she's let go of a lot of things in the last few years, including connections. And I'm not talking about like Liam and shit like that. She left that situation behind like years ago. Back in the day, I did a whole fucking reading on it. I deleted it for whatever reason, but it was accurate actually. But with the Tower card as well, yeah, there could be some things really kind of that have been shook up in her life recently. I'm going to pull another card on the Tower card as well. But with the Three of Swords and the Queen of Cups, this is also speaking to this album has been really healing for her. We love and stand healing, yeah. What the fuck am I doing? What the fuck? Even though there's been challenges with this album because she is signed at Columbia Records, and they're a very big record label and a good record label, but those type of record labels do micromanage you. So she's experienced a lot of hardship and frustration around this album in some ways, but either way I feel like she's healed a lot from making this album. And I do feel like emotionally as well, like I feel like she's more in a stable place after recording a lot of this album. She got a lot out about her family as well. I know there's been a lot of family drama of her in the last year or so there could have been some inner childhood healing she was doing as well when recording this album, or some of these songs kind of helped her do that healing work. So this album really has a shadow element to it, but also there's the fun side, the light side. Like there's a duality in everything, and I think this album really represents that. For example, there's been several stop and go delays with this album. Like I feel like she started completely over at a time. Last summer there could have been a breaking point creatively with this album as well, but I feel like after the last, because I feel like Miley kind of goes through that with creatively with her albums a lot, because that happened with Plastic Hearts as well. She kind of started over and then redid the album but kept some of the elements from like the old album. So there is going to be elements of songs reworked on this album, whether they're like demos she made for this album specifically, or maybe even for older albums she may bring back some of those demos and rework them. Either way, if she does do that, she is going to rework them and they are going to be modern. But with the Tower card and the Knight of Pentacles, there definitely was a corporate influence to why she was kind of starting over a lot with this album, because the Knight of Pentacles does talk about financial stability, and I do think Miley is focused, or I don't know if she's like overly concerned about it, but she does keep that in mind as well. Miley wanted to go in a more experimental direction in some ways with this album, but I do think that has been halted a little bit, or was halted a little bit. But there is experimentation on this album. It's just not like full, like there definitely is conditions to the experimentation as well, because you don't want to rock the boat too much with the general public. But she kind of just rebuilt her career with Flowers and rebuilt her momentum. Actually, I feel like she should have released an album even sooner, and I actually think Miley agrees with that just based off the cards. But the label was just taking too long and overthinking things. But I do think this is a quality body of work. There could have also been a lot of perfectionism around this album. Like I'm talking about like minor details, like she was going back in the studio, and this wasn't even like the label telling her to do this. This was her. Like she was like, no, this isn't right. Like something about the piano part as well on one of the songs. Like it's gonna be one of the ballads, probably later in the album. Something about the piano, I don't know why I'm doing this, but something about the piano part she kept like fucking with over and over again, or it didn't sound right to her, and it was like a very minor element of the song. But she was like kind of getting wrapped up in that. I actually don't know, and by the way, I have diagnosed OCD myself, but I don't know if Miley has OCD or something, but I feel like she's maybe been struggling. I know she was struggling with anxiety a few years ago, but I think the struggle may have lingered into this era. But there was a lot of healing when it came to this era as well. And I do think she made a lot of good connections with this album. I think the producer she worked with, she may have worked on her other album, her last album with. I'm not for sure. But with the Two of Cups, I do feel like she could have built a new creative connection. Because with the Two of Cups, for some reason, with the iPod in this card, I don't know if you can see it. There's like an iPod. This is the Office Tarot deck, by the way. But I'm thinking of like a sound mixer for some reason. So I don't know if she worked with a producer who used to be like a sound mixer, or that's how this producer started. But she did, this producer could be a Cancer, Sun, Moon, Rising, or Venus. But this relationship could be kind of hectic in a way, because there's a lot of growth and transformation when it comes to this energy and relationship. So there's a very powerful creative energy here, but there could have been some type of clash as well at times. But some of that clash is outside of even those two. Like there was some external label influences. I don't know if Miley's thinking about going back to movies as well, but something about that just kind of came to me. I feel like she's trying to project a certain image right now, because I do think she's working on trying to get back into like the TV movie industry. So that's another reason why she's been really nitpicky with this album and the visuals as well, because there's something she's working on doing. I do think she wants to get back into like movies and acting. That could be a part of the visual album as well. There's still an element of her that doesn't like pop stardom. Like I do feel like she is still very detached from some elements of it compared to back when she was younger, for example. You have to keep in mind though that Miley's been doing this for like 20 years or almost 20 years. So I still feel like she's finding a passion again when it comes to recording. I don't know if she's going to tour this album again, but like I said, I do think she put a lot of passion into the rollout of this album and also the visual album. Like I said, I still don't know how well it's going to do, but something about it lacks consistency, for example. But Miley did put in a lot of effort, so that does count for something, and I do think the album is really good. And there's going to be some really good ballads on this album in particular. I'm picking up on a reinterpretation energy as well. So Miley could be sampling some iconic songs on this album, but in a really reworked way where she adds her own touch to it. But Ace of Cups and Two of Cups, she really put her heartfelt energy into this album. There also is going to be some love songs in here, specifically like a song about like an engagement or a wedding or something like that. It may not even be like in reality. It could just be like a fantasy or something. But I have a habit of saying but a lot, probably because I'm a bottom, but I remember in the movie Home Alone 3, the crazy old lady, well, she wasn't that crazy, but she kind of was, but she said butts are for ashtrays, and I just think about that often. Every time I say but in these videos when I'm editing, I just think of that quote. And why do I keep getting notifications? Only when I'm filming videos or doing read-ins, I get notifications. Otherwise, no one fucking texts me, and my crush is not texting me back either. I just want to fucking kill myself. There is definitely like a really iconic love song that could even be in movies or a TV show, for example. So I'm thinking of like an Oscar of the Ace of Cups, or this could be a Grammy as well. Even if the album doesn't do well commercially, which I'm gonna ask separately because I'm not really getting an answer, but even if the album doesn't do well commercially, I feel like critically the album is gonna do well and she is gonna win some type of award. But I think it's connected to a movie, so I don't know if she's gonna do some type of soundtrack song and include it on this album, or if one of the songs is going to be included on a soundtrack or vice versa, whatever. But something to do with a movie. Like I don't know if it's a Grammy. I think it's an Oscar, but it's definitely movie related. I keep picking up on this cinematic vibe. It could be a Grammy for her visual album as well, because I do believe they have Grammys for like visual storytelling as well. So that is a possibility. But I do think the visual album is going to be actually the combination. I think the visual album is going to make the album work. I think the album may have not worked as well if Miley didn't really invest in music videos. Like last era, she barely invested in music videos, and the album was great. But I feel like the album would have just meshed better if she did some music videos or more music videos for it, or just better music videos, because I feel like the last era's music videos were really cheap. I love Miley, but that's just the truth. This is kind of a PR thing, but Miley Cyrus needs to form more of a narrative around this album. Like, for example, last time, she didn't necessarily form this narrative, but her fans formed a narrative around Flowers when it came to Liam Hemsworth, and that's what made the single so successful. So Miley Cyrus needs to invest in some type of narrative, maybe around a relationship, but she needs to connect it to this album. I feel like publicity is really gonna, or that type of publicity is really gonna influence the success, at least if it's not the success of the album, maybe of the lead single. So Miley needs to kind of think about that. I was kind of picking up on that. I already kind of shuffled, I'm in the process of reshuffling the cards, but that intuitively came to me while I was reshuffling. With the Two of Swords and Nine of Wands being the first, well, actually I pulled the Two of Swords as the first card, and this is the clarity card. But I asked with this deck, how will Miley Cyrus's album do commercially? And Two of Swords and Nine of Wands, this can be kind of frustrating energy. Also, I feel like this energy is showing that Miley Cyrus was pushed in different directions when it came to choosing singles for this album and just the album in general. With the Hierophant card being here, there definitely was a lot of label influence at times. This was definitely a very collaborative album as well with the Ten of Cups. A lot of positive collaboration because the Sun card is here as well. And I remember, so I did pull originally this question with the other tarot deck I was using, and I got the Empress card. So this album is her baby, but like I said, there is still kind of like a shakeup or uncertainty when it comes to the success of this album. Like I do feel like there is going to be a successful single for sure, like definitely a top 10 single. But with the Ten of Swords, I'm just kind of scared. Sorry, that's my one of my notifications, by the way. I never made the prediction for how Miley's album is going to do on the Billboard Hot 200 in its first week. It could still peak higher than this, by the way. But I'm getting it will peak at either like number 8 through number 4 in the first week. Specifically, number 8 sticks out because I got the 8 of Swords, I believe. Also, 5 of Swords sticks out. And also 4 of Wands also came up. 4 of Wands is a really positive energy. Sorry, I'm just looking at the cards. So there's going to be a veteran who drops an album unexpectedly around April time, or that album blows up in April. And I feel like that album is going to block Miley on the charts. Also, there's going to be a lot of people releasing around that time since it's summertime. So I feel like she has a lot of competition. But I feel like if Miley keeps at promotion, I feel like the album can stay within the top 10 for a long time and potentially rise to the top 3 actually. But it's kind of a slow burn. There has to be some type of, I'm looking at the cards still, by the way, but Miley has to be kind of patient with this. Like I said, I don't think she's like super chart focused all the time, but success is possible. But like I said, you have to kind of usher in a strategy that helps the album / singles work long term, if that makes sense. I'm just kind of scared that the album, because look at the sun, like the sun is in, oops, I just dropped it. The sun is already like in the reading, but then you see the sun going down in the Ten of Swords. So I don't know how long the single success is going to last. So I need to look into that. I'm going to pull a clarity card on the Ten of Swords right now, actually. To me, the album or one of the singles may not last long on the charts because there's a lack of direction here. 7 of Cups. Also, this could be like throwing shit at the wall or doing too much. So it could be too much promotional singles at once, for example. It's really hard to roll out visual albums. So that's why I feel like Miley should have released a single already, because let me just turn off my, okay, we just turn off my notifications. I'm still an amateur at this shit, at recording YouTube videos. But Miley definitely should have released a single earlier this month, I feel like, during Pisces season, because it would have gave it more time to build up hype for the album. But I just don't feel like that hype is necessarily there for the album, so that's why she needs to put herself out there more. But like I said, with the Ten of Swords and the 7 of Cups, there definitely is still this energy of her disconnected from, did your stepmom just get a BBL? Did your step-cousin from Alabama just steal your man? Are you in love with a bald guy with an average-sized penis? Well then, this is your sign to book a tarot reading with me and get to it ASAP, because your love life sure is rocky. The general public in a way, or she's definitely more of a private person and she doesn't know if she wants to like put in all the work into promoting the album. Well, it's not that she doesn't want to promote the album, it's just she respects her privacy. And I did say something about a narrative before, creating a narrative, but creating a narrative is like putting yourself out there, and that does affect your privacy. So there definitely is, like, Miley kind of feels conflicted internally, and that's why the 2 of Swords was the first card, because she knows she kind of has to put herself out there for this album to be really successful, and in ways she did, but a lot of those ways, like, she's like in a persona in a way, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but she knows she needs to share more of like her truth for this album to be even more successful. Like I said before, Flowers was really popular because of that narrative around Liam. And Miley, I don't even know if she necessarily created that. It was the fans. Maybe allegedly she was involved in creating that narrative with the fans. That's all alleged and just speculation, by the way. But like this time she feels like she really has to like kind of like create her own narrative. And part of her does want to control the narrative. But she knows she has to create some type of narrative for her publicist to do the work around promoting the album. Because yes, you can do paid promotion on Instagram and Facebook, but people, especially nowadays, want to feel connected to their favorite artist. And Miley knows this because she feels the same way about her favorite artist. But she's still in the space right now where she really respects her privacy. She's also, there is still a lot of conflict in her family right now and with her father. And she's afraid, maybe part of the narrative would be around her family, actually, and she's afraid of creating more drama in her family because there is still some chaos in regards to her family, and she's being pulled in different directions. I do think she's like on her mother's side more so. Yeah, there's some conflict going on again in her family life, but either way, I do think this album is going to be commercially successful. The only real issue is maintaining that success long term. And I feel like that's always been an issue for Miley, because Miley can get on the charts, but like Can't Be Tamed, for example, fell off really quick, I think, off the charts. So it's keeping that momentum going, which is really hard for Miley, because Miley moves on really easily creatively as well, which I'm kind of the same way. I'm a Sag Moon and I'm a Leo, so I'm kind of ADHD as well. This album has a wide range of sounds and images and personas even, so I don't think Miley will get as bored as easily with this album. But like I said, sticking with the promotion and sticking to the momentum is going to be a challenge for her this era. I think that's always kind of a challenge for her. I'm not even trying to be shady, that's just kind of the truth. This album was a pain in the ass to create, like I said, with the Hierophant card and the Tower card. Corporate energy behind this album, which can be a cursing and a blessing, because at Miley's old label, she didn't have that corporate support, so the albums and the singles didn't really do that well after a certain point. But at Columbia, she has more of the corporation behind her, but she has more expectations on her and more people to answer to. So I feel like Miley had to tailor the album a certain way so she could get that full promotion and allegedly payola, because I don't even know if payola is actually a thing, but I do think it is a thing to get songs on the radio. But like I said, with the streaming era, things are different. Miley is also trying to build on her streaming success of the last era, but there is still concerns at the label if the album's going to do well on streaming. I do think there could be issues in regards to playlisting some of Miley's new songs when it comes to like the release of the album, because people put them on, or like the labels pay to put them on like Spotify and like Apple Music playlists, for example. There could be some type of issue with that, or like her songs get put on the playlist but not like on top, so the playlisting doesn't work in the way it was intended to work. Because like I said, I just feel like there could be a lot of or I didn't say this before, but I was picking up that there is going to be a lot of releases around that time, because it's going to be the beginning of summer and everyone is going to be trying to put out their summer singles. So I just feel like it was bad timing, honestly, when because I think Miley released an album, or not an album, an EP in 2019 around the same time, and it got really overshadowed. But she was at RCA Records still, and RCA Records, like, they're just a terrible record label, allegedly, for entertainment purposes only. Don't sue me because I'm broke as fuck. But there was that factor as well, but it could even be like a repeat situation of that in a way. Like, I just feel like there's going to be a lot going on at the time. 10 of Cups. And Miley is a very supportive person, and at the end of the day, she's not going to be jealous and envious of other people doing better than her, because Miley's had a lot of success already, and she knows she's blessed. She knows she's a blessed Nepo baby. But there's going to be a lot of releases, but Miley is a veteran at this point. She's almost been releasing music for 20 years. So she does have that star power, and if she does hop on a remix later in the summer, or if it's just a duet she does on her album, that is going to do well. But I don't think it should be the first single, because I feel like it might be really pandering, or like she might seem like she's pandering if she releases the duet or remix or as like the first single. Like, I feel like she needs to release a solo single like she kind of did last time, and I think it should be an upbeat song. I'm not necessarily sure, because I'm not really getting either way if it's going to be an upbeat or slow song. I think it's going to be more so an upbeat, empowering song for this first single, and I think that's probably the best bet. But I do think the song is going to go top 10. I just don't know how long it's going to remain in the top 10. On this album, she's going to shade someone in her family. I feel like it could be her father or just someone in her family. It may be kind of ambiguous, but it's kind of obvious that it's a dig at her family. I don't think it's about Liam. I think she's really moved past that a while ago already. But she's definitely coming for blood when it comes to her family. Or she's coming for her blood. Well, she's coming for blood. I don't even know how to explain it. Like, that's just confusing me. I'm not even high or anything. I'm just stupid. But yeah, there definitely is going to be a song about her father and their relationship falling apart. I think she's going to spill the tea on one of the songs. Like, it almost has like a hip hop element. So maybe there is a rapper on that song specifically, but it's not necessarily a hip hop song. It's kind of a fusion of multiple different things. There is a jazzy vibe to it, but there is a hip hop fusion to the song as well. There's both a jazz influence when it comes to this album, both in spirit and also musically. I also feel like Miley got a lot of local players to play on her album, and I do feel like she is looking into a tour right now, but she's very specific when it comes to this tour. Like, she wants to bring a specific group of musicians on, like, her next tour if she does a tour. I feel like Miley may bring along some type of iconic jazz band on her next tour if she does a tour. There's something very jazzy. It's obviously still modern in Miley, but there's some new influences in her music, and people are going to be really surprised with how well she sounds with that jazz influence. I think she sounds good always, but there is a lot of jazz on this album, and I think the guy who's mainly producing this album did Adele's last album, and there was some jazz influence on there, actually, now that I'm thinking of it, but I think that influence is going to be on Miley's album as well. Lastly, I pulled the Five of Swords as the clarity card for the Sun card, so it kind of depends on how much Miley wants to promote things. The Sun card is like a really carefree spirit, but also a very passionate spirit, and Five of Swords is kind of the opposite. Well, Five of Swords is passionate energy, but it's this energy of win at all costs. I also think Five of Swords is speaking to the Gemini season and when she's going to release the album. Like I said, there's going to be a lot of competition releasing at that time, specifically younger competition. So Miley kind of has to adapt in a way. So that's why I feel like she's going to have to do more collaborations. I feel like Miley might do an appearance with Beyonce for some reason sometime later in the year, maybe for Beyonce's tour. But yeah, with the Five of Swords and the Sun card, it's like there is self-sabotage. Like, this is just giving me self-sabotage. So the album is going to do as well as Miley wants it to do. Like I said, if she wants to promote it and fully put all of her effort into it, then it's going to do really well. But if Miley's not putting herself out there and she's not like promoting it personally a lot, people are not going to be into it, because like I said, in this modern age, people like to feel connected to their favorite artist. And if people feel those ulterior motives or like not pure motives when it comes to releasing an album, I feel like people are not going to connect to it as much. But like I said, there is a lot of competition, but if Miley plays her cards right, no pun intended, I do feel like this album is going to do well. But like I said, keeping it in the forefront is going to be a whole nother issue. I do think she needs like a new publicist or something, because the strategy that strategy for this album just isn't like there yet, and maybe they're still crafting it, but usually you plan this stuff like 6 months in advance. So I do think there was like delays and like everything was kind of up in the air of the album, and I think it finally just got approved to be released in May time. But it would have done better actually if she released it earlier, specifically the single. But there still can be damage control. But like I said, the longevity of the album is what I'm concerned about. The instantaneous success is already there. Like, I already see it in the cards. Just based off her legend status alone, she could probably have a somewhat successful album for a little bit and also tour this album. But for it to be like a really big success, album-wise, she needs to put more effort into releasing singles. She may even need to record alternative music videos. Like, if she releases, I bet there's like she recorded a visual for each video already for like the visual album. But I think she needs to record like separate music videos outside of that to even promote the song even more. But I don't know if Miley wants to put her, because I feel like Miley would have to put her personal budget into that, and I don't think she wants to do that, because I feel like she's actually pretty frugal with her money, and she's trying to make as much money as possible. So, and also in this fucking economy as well, does she really want to like put all that money, or does she really want to take out all that money into a music video? So it kind of depends what she wants. I still think a lot of this is in motion. Like, she's still working on this plan with her label and her publicist and her managers. But I do think there is a lot of instantaneous success with this album, but the long-term or longevity, it depends on how Miley plays her cards. Like I said, no pun intended. Again, it's such a stupid joke. Critically, this album's kind of all over the place. Like, I feel like some people are going to like it, but the Three of Swords, people are going to sense a sense of distraction with Miley. It's when it comes to the music, I think the visuals will be like perfectly executed with the Queen of Swords. Like, that vision is there. Miley had a vision of love, and I hope that she can get a top 5 album at least, even though I don't know if I fully predicted that. Hopefully it's in the top 5 at least. Okay, I was trying to sing Vision of Love by Mariah Carey, but that didn't even sound like Vision of Love, honestly, and I'm a bad singer too. But please treat me kind in the comments. What the fuck was that? But with the Eight of Pentacles, this is still working on something. This is also perfecting your craft or skill. So it could be she's perfected her craft. Witchcraft. Why is that hard to say that so much in a row? Witchcraft. I'm like stumbling on it. What the fuck? But it could be also there's still some work she needs to do on this album where people think that. I do think she is going to get some flowers though, no pun intended. I can buy myself flowers. Only gas station flowers though, because I'm a broke bitch, okay? I'm no Miley, but I'm Smiley. I pulled the Strength card as the clarity card for the Six of Pentacles. Some people are going to think this album is too overproduced. Some people are going to think this album is cocky as well. There's gonna be one, it's kind of reminding me of her song Catitude, but there's gonna be this one song like Catitude on there that's gonna piss people off, or people are just gonna kind of side-eye at the song. It kind of feels like old bangers Miley to me, and people are gonna find it kind of corny. Some people are gonna find it corny. I think the fans are gonna like it, but like the critics are not gonna like it. It could even be like I'm thinking of like Holla Back Girl. It could be like a sample of that or something. I don't know, something about it's not gonna be received well by certain people, probably by like her older fans. But I think this album has something for everyone. Six of Pentacles, that just brought me there. And if you're going through a heartbreak, I do think this is... Oh, she's working with the Adele producer. This kind of makes sense to me. But this is reminding me of Lana Del Rey for some reason. I don't know if she... What's that? People keep saying, like, eating someone's nachos. I'm Gen Z, but I'm, like, behind because all my friends are, like, older. So I don't know, like, all the slang and stuff. But, like, I feel like she's trying to, like... heat up Lana's nachos a little bit with one of the songs or whatever that fucking saying is. Honestly, I don't fucking know it. I'm being honest, I don't know it. But this is giving me Lana Del Rey vibes. Like, someone's gonna compare her album to Lana Del Rey, so maybe Lana's gonna be releasing as well. Oh yeah, that happened last time too. Miley and Lana released around the same time, and I believe Miley moved up her album, or one of them did. But something about Lana Del Rey's coming through, like some type of Lana Del Rey inspiration is going to be felt in this album like a fucking earthquake, okay? Didn't the same combo come up, but Miley may also pay tribute to her mom in a song. It's something about like sharing heartbreak with your mother, like the song's theme. It's like it's something about understanding, like one of the songs is going to be about understanding her mother now. Like she didn't understand her mother when she was younger in some way. But the song's theme is now she understands the pain. Ooh, that kind of was like... I kind of like that. Now she understands the pain. That sounded bad. Actually, I can kind of write choruses a little bit like I did the other night. It wasn't good. Like, I can pull it up right now. 1 second. Let me go listen to it again so I can sing it. This is a preview of my new single, Desperate. I'm just so desperate, desperate, desperate. That's why I'm so hesitant, hesitant, hesitant. To fall in love again, love again, love again. That's all I wrote, so that was the preview. Back to the main topic. She's digesting her family trauma in this album, specifically trauma around her mother, or she's relating to her mother's trauma in some type of way. So we're throwing away trauma after this album is released, so you better just throw away your trauma now and just get rid of it in advance so you can be prepared, okay? Okay. By the way, I didn't mean to throw Miley's mom because I'm seeing this card as her mom's energy right now, so I'm sorry, Miley's mom. I love you. Well, I'm gay, so I don't love you, but I love you as like a gay best friend. Some critics are really going to notice Miley Cyrus's vocal expansion as well, and also artistic expansion. Like, I feel like Miley touched on a certain idea in the past and she may bring it back to this album in some type of way. It could be an album, or not an album, a song she's worked on in the past. She's done this before too. Like, she takes a song that she's worked on before and kind of rework it and re-release it. Critics may comment on that song and really enjoy that song. Also, Miley's vocal range is going to expand. What's at the top of the deck? The Knight of Wands. So the rasp is still going to be there, but I feel like Miley's voice is going to go even higher again, because Miley's voice got lower for a little bit, but I do feel like Miley's vocal health is in a really good place right now. She could have even gotten another procedure for her vocal health, but if not, I just feel like she's really been working on her vocal training. I'm not saying she wasn't working on it before, but she's taking it even more seriously now. I'm thinking of Pink, and Pink is like an expert vocalist in my opinion. I've literally never heard her sound bad. So I feel like there could be some vocal inspiration from Pink in this album. I know people don't usually think of Pink as inspiration. Pink is an icon, by the way. I've seen her 4 times live. But there is some type of Pink inspiration that Miley is taken from vocally. Like, I feel like Miley has been really inspired by Pink's vocals recently. Why am I picking up on that? I tell you, Miley's getting the bag with this album. The 6 of Pentacles and 9 of Pentacles together is money, money, money. She's definitely getting some type of endorsement deal with this album. I heard she sold her soul. Not in, like, I heard that literally psychically. Not literally, it's just a joke. But I do think she does have a lot of corporate sponsors behind her this time. I feel like her last era kind of showed that like Miley still has a lot of staying power and star power. So this album, I feel like a lot of people are backing her, like corporations and such, but people may also, or critics may also not like that as well. I feel like Miley can invest more in her artistic expression because she has more people backing her. But I don't know why this is coming up like critically. Because I asked like how this album is going to do critically. Both the Nine of Pentacles and Six of Pentacles, she's going to get some really good reviews actually. But I kind of see mixed reception in some type of way. Like I said, I think I said this before in the reading. I think the visual album is really going to complete the album, like the music. And I know the music comes out first. So at first, the music may not be as well liked. But once the visual album comes out, the album is going to make more sense. The album could also feel kind of disjointed. And maybe that's why the visual album is going to kind of even it out. Or the visual album is what completes the album. But I feel like Miley wants to release them separately on purpose. But she wants people to get to know the music. But I almost feel like either she should have released them farther apart, or she should have just released them at the same time. Because I feel like it's kind of pointless to release the album at the end of May and then in June release the visual album. You might as well just like release them together. But with the Nine of Pentacles and Six of Pentacles, this is really positive energy. People are really going to like the empowerment songs. I think some of the sad songs are going to be slated a little bit more. People are going to gravitate more towards, because I think people just like Miley more so. Well, Wrecking Ball was one of her biggest songs for a long time. I just think the sad songs aren't going to be like Wrecking Ball. They're almost like Lana Del Rey, Downcast. Didn't the producer also work on Folklore? Okay, that makes sense, because I think Folklore was trying to be like Lana Del Rey. No offense to Taylor Swift fans. I have nothing against her. I'm just saying. I think even Taylor said that it was inspired by Lana. But the bad bitch anthems are going to be what's praised. Actually, Queen of Swords has reminded me of Taylor Swift. She may even have a song that's very it can be like Taylor Swift like the song, like just the lyrics or something, or like the theme of the song might remind a lot of people of Taylor Swift. Is Look at the Cat. That's what made me think of Taylor Swift. So Taylor Swift could be associated with this album in some type of way. She could even interview Miley for something. Like there could be some type of Taylor Swift interaction. I don't think they're going to collaborate together. I could be wrong, but Taylor Swift is going to be mentioned in reviews as well, or she's going to be compared a lot to Taylor Swift. Maybe even Reputation, the re-release of Reputation, come out around the same time. So it could be that as well. But there definitely is a big Taylor Swift comparison with this album critically. Miley's going to be more successful this era when she releases songs that own her power. Like I said, I just don't feel like the sad songs are really going to work right now. Also, we're in a time of resistance in the US at least. So I feel like Miley is going to put something out there political. I don't know if it's even the album, but I feel like Miley being outspoken will actually really benefit her. Right now, people are rising up, and I feel like Miley needs to kind of tap into that energy. I think she has on the album, but like I said, she just needs to release the right singles. There is a disagreement when it comes to single release right now, when it comes to her and her label, even her and her managers, potentially for entertainment purposes only. But I personally think intuitively stick to the upbeat songs, at least for the first two singles. You could probably pivot after, or maybe even the second single, but you need to kind of start with a bang, and then maybe the second single you can bang bang. So it could be like a hot song. No, I'm joking. But the first song you definitely need to start with a bang, and then you can kind of work from there. But the song, there could be two songs that go top 10 associated with this album, but the first song that's going to do the best is definitely a bad bitch anthem. So Miley, if you're going to release a single that's sad, don't do it. Release the bad bitch anthem. Okay? Speaking of advice, I'm going to wrap up this reading with some advice cards. So I got the Eight of Cups, the Two of Cups, and the Knight of Wands. So Spirit is saying, Miley, you can have a balance between personal and career. And I feel like this era of her life is really going to show that to her, because I feel like either she's really invested in relationships or career, or vice versa, and she can never find a perfect medium. And she is a Sagittarius, and I always think of the Temperance card, which is balance, but you can have both. Like Temperance card to me is having both spirituality and like the material realm. That's a whole nother conversation, but that's just kind of like my equation. So Miley is still trying to find the balance between her work life and career life, and even family life and career life, because she does work with some family at times. But Miley is going to find that perfect balance. Miley does feel really comfortable right now, kind of being introverted in a way in the mountains. That's what it feels like with the Eight of Cups. But Miley's going to find a renewed passion for performing. And Miley's kind of like I do feel like she's thought about walking away from like entertainment or stepping back even more than she has already. Seven of Pentacles, she has plenty of money and resources and wealth, and she's not an overly materialistic person. Sometimes she can put on a funny persona, but like she's really not. She's like a very down-to-earth person, and she's lived this life forever, so it doesn't really impress her as much. Six of Pentacles, she is going to receive, but she has to kind of believe that like right now there is a lot of self-doubt, because I feel like people have been putting doubt in her head, and people have been hyping her up to have like really high expectations, or she needs to do really well. It could be because she needs to get some type of return as well. Actually, I could pull more, I guess. So Six of Pentacles, the Fool card. But there's a lot of passionate energy here. So like I said, I feel like Miley is going to find a renewed sense of passion. At first, she could have created this project just because she felt obligated to. But as this project went on, she's really started to connect to it. Like, I feel like it's kind of been a slow burn for her creatively this time. Sometimes she can go way quicker, but there's been a lot of stop and go. But this time, I really do feel like Miley's going to find new passion. Like I said, with the Fool card, she's going to want to put herself out there again and share more about her life. Like, I feel like she feels really disconnected from her fan base right now. That connection is going to grow again. And I do feel like, I'm not like, Miley's changed over the years and like that's natural, but I do feel like she's been going through stuff in private and she's been holding a lot in. And I feel like this album is a release for her, and she doesn't even know she needs this release yet. But after this album comes out, whether it does piss poorly or amazing, I feel like she's going to feel a sense of relief. A, because this album was a pain in the ass to make, but B, I just feel like she's been able to exercise a lot of her demons through this album, and also she's going to make some sickening videos, so she's going to just have a lot of fun, or she's already had a lot of fun. So even if it doesn't do well commercially, it's for the fans, and she does feel like I said, she does miss that connection with her fans. I mean, she's still connected to her fans, but she's a lot more private. So she really does want to feed her fans. That's definitely clear. So like I said, even if the critics don't get it, the fans will, for sure, Miley. Before I ended this video, I wanted to ask if Miley's going to tour for this new album, and honestly, based off all the cards I got, I feel like she's going to make some guest appearances, and maybe she might do a few different dates, because Two of Wands is in reverse, and in the traditional tarot deck, the person is like, or actually in this tarot deck as well, you see the world globe, or like, yeah, the globe, or the whole world, like, in the traditional tarot deck, the person's like holding the globe. Why am I like blanking? But anyway, for some reason, this card being in reverse is giving me like limited tour vibes. Like, she may do very limited dates, but I don't feel like she's going to be traveling that much on this tour. That's what I'm getting with the Two of Wands in reverse if she does tour. It's almost reminded me of when Mariah used to tour in the 90s. Yes, I love Mariah too. She's another iconic MC. But when Mariah used to tour in the 90s, she only did like 7 dates. So it's kind of given that energy. It's making me think of Daydream World Tour, which was like 7 dates. And I think Music Box Tour, I was going to say Daydream World Tour, that was a world tour. But Music Box Tour was like 5 dates in the United States, for example. So she may do a very limited tour like that. She's using the excuse as well that logistically the tour would be hard, because there's some type of creative idea that she has that just doesn't feel practical. I think she could pull it off if she really wanted to, but she still doesn't fully want to tour. Like I said, I feel like she's really working on boundaries when it comes to like what she shares with the public and what she doesn't share with the public. So I still feel like she's kind of off of touring. So she did a festival tour not last album, for Plastic Hearts, and there was a lot of things that went wrong on that festival tour. So I feel like that's another reason why she's hesitant on going back on tour. And also, one of her friends died when she was on that festival tour. So I think there's a lot of trauma that happened on the last festival tour. So she doesn't really want to tour right now, at least not extensively. She may do festivals again as well. If she does do festivals, I do feel like there's going to be more production this time. And I feel like there's going to be a lot of special guests with the Three of Cups. But right now, with the Five of Wands and the Three of Swords, I definitely don't see her touring. If she does do she's going to do, actually, I do think she's going to do a tour, but she's not going to do an extensive world tour. Like I said, I feel like it's going to be like 7 shows. Maybe it's a residency. I don't really get residency vibes. I think it's going to be a lot of special appearances. Also, I kind of see her performing with Beyonce or even Taylor Swift at an event. Like, I feel like she's going to perform at Beyonce's world tour, like be a special guest one of the nights. And then she may do some type of special event with Taylor Swift. I keep getting Taylor Swift. I know that's crazy, but like, she keeps showing up in this reading. But with the Five of Wands, I just feel like intuitively right now, she just doesn't feel like she should tour. Like, she just doesn't feel ready. And also, Touring brings a lot of chaos to your life, and I just feel like she struggles with anxiety, and I feel like the lack of routine is really what fucked her up in the past. And I feel like lack of routine almost brings her back to like the trauma of her childhood star past. So like I said, she does not want to do an extensive tour. I think she's going to stick to festivals, but there's going to be a lot more production because for Plastic Hearts, it was very bare bones, which I actually love that. For example, I saw her on that festival tour. Also, I saw Banger's World Tour as well back in the day when I was like 13 years old. This cycle, she's going to put a lot more production behind things. There could even be dancers again, for example. Not many dancers, but I see some dancers with the Three of Cups as well. That was the reading on Miley Cyrus's new album / era. I could probably look more into the visual album as well if you guys would be interested in that. You can also leave requests for who you want me to do a reading on next when it comes to celebrity readings. Also, you can book a tarot reading with me linked below, and also you can check out my other social media links. I post a lot on Instagram, and I have a special announcement coming out on Instagram soon, so make sure to follow me on Instagram at EthansTarot. Don't forget to comment, subscribe, like, and share this video. I hope everyone has a great day, and thank you so much again for watching. Peace and love, everyone. Bye, bitches.